All right, now it is time to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of credit cards. Now, we know how easy it is to get a credit card. Really, all you have to do is make an application. And if you have anywhere near halfway decent credit, even if you have bad credit, many times you'll get a card, you'll just have a really low limit. It's easy to get a credit card. But are credit cards good? Are they worth utilizing? Or are they a bad idea? Well, it's actually a little bit of both. So I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of credit cards. Let's talk about the good first. There are good features about credit cards. Credit cards in and of themselves are not evil. They're not in every instance a bad idea, in my opinion. The good of credit cards is it's an easy way to pay. Debit cards, I would contend, are the best way for you to pay because it ensures that you're spending money that you have rather than money that you don't have. But it is true that there are times when debit cards, can have some challenges for larger purchases in particular. Sometimes there are credit limits on how much can be swiped in a given day on a debit card with your bank. Sometimes if you're outside the area or you're spending money on something that's unusual, there are tighter parameters on those debit cards. And so sometimes you need to have a credit card as a backup. And so credit cards are just an easy way to pay. They're accepted most places. And as long as you're under your limit, you should be able to use a credit card. You can use them online. I've talked about in previous videos how much easier it is to load them into your phone and actually pay with a credit card. So it's an easy way to pay. That's one benefit, one good feature of them. Secondly, you've got the potential for rewards. So my wife and I have a Southwest Visa card that we use for rewards. And that allows us to accumulate miles that we can then use so that we can fly for free. We've got a big family, got 4 kids. And so if we're going to take a vacation where we're flying, we can accumulate those rewards and maybe be able to fly somewhere for the whole family for free if we save up for them enough. So rewards can be nice. Some other cards have cashback rewards that might be 1% on everything you spend or 2% on everything you spend. Sometimes in certain categories, they're as high as 5% on everything that you spend. So rewards are really nice. So those are a couple of benefits. There's more, but I'm just highlighting a couple of benefits for credit cards. Easy way to pay, nice to use rewards. Let's talk about the bad of credit cards. All right, the first bad thing about a credit card, I would say, is the interest rate. Many times the interest rate starts out at 0%. That's where you begin. But over a period of time, it begins to ratchet up and could be as high as 24% at some point. So it's a really expensive way to borrow. Now, if you have to borrow money, then it's better than not being able to meet. Remember, we talked about necessities and we talked about wants, and it's better to be able to pay for a necessity on a credit card at 24% than not being able to do it at all, right? But the problem is we often end up paying for a lot of wants with our credit cards, and it becomes very, very expensive. So paying 24% is just really expensive credit, and it's going to take you a long time to be able to kind of work your way out of those. The second bad thing, and I think this is even a bigger deal than the 24%, because if you have bad credit in particular, and let's say you're getting a car loan, you might have a rate that's in the teens, 12% or 13% or 14%. So I think the bigger deal is really actually not the interest rate, but the fact that credit cards do not have a stated finish line. There's what's called a minimum payment with credit cards. And that's the smallest amount that you have to pay. But paying that minimum payment often will not pay your credit card off in any reasonable length of time. Matter of fact, just making that minimum payment, now credit card companies are required to put on the bill how long it will take you to pay that off if you just make the minimum payment. And it's Many times it's a long time. So the lack of structure in a credit card, with a bank loan, let's say that you have a car loan, you might know that in 3 years it's going to be paid off, or in 5 years it's going to be paid off. But with a credit card, it's possible that you may never have it paid off. Now I want you to think about your own experience with credit cards. How many times have you said to yourself, I'm going to pay this balance off by this date, but it doesn't get paid off? It's too easy to have what you call an evergreen credit card, where there's always a balance, you're always making minimum payments or small payments, and you feel like you're just not getting out of the hole. I want you to picture digging a hole, and you're throwing dirt out of the hole, and you're digging a big hole to stand in. And you decide that you want to get out of the hole, but as you try to reach up and get out of the hole, there's dirt that's coming down, falling in your face. It makes it hard to get out of the hole. That is what can happen with credit cards, is you dig this hole of debt with the credit card, and the interest is putting dirt back on top of you, but the steps that you make, the payments you make, are not significant enough to crawl out. You're not shoveling out enough dirt to get you out of the hole. So that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges with a credit card. Now I'm going to talk about the ugly, because I think this is something that we might not be willing to admit. At its root, credit cards allow you to spend more money than you have. If you have a debit card, you're not going to be able to spend, unless you have overdraft protection, you're not going to be able to spend more than you have in your account, more money than you have. But when you have a credit card, it allows you to cheat. It allows you to buy now and figure out how to pay for it later. And that can get you into a perpetual cycle of being behind. Okay? And that can cause you to not be able to be as financially successful as you'd like to be. So let me give you a recap on credit cards. Credit cards, I don't think, are evil. I think they can be used as a tool. But here's the way that I would sum up whether you need to have a credit card or not. If you pay your balance off on your credit card every month without fail, then you can justify using a credit card as an easy way to pay and as a way to accumulate rewards. I think you can show that you have the self-discipline to use a credit card in a way that doesn't hurt you. If you typically retain a balance on your credit card, or if there have been 1 or 2 months even where you've rolled over a balance, then you really might want to consider cutting up your cards and just not using them, because they may actually be causing you more harm than good. There's a responsible way to use credit cards, but it's hard, and it takes incredible self-discipline, and it takes tracking how much you're spending so that you know if you're going to have this money or not. So credit cards are a double-edged sword. They can be super helpful, but they can also hurt you tremendously. So thankful to have the opportunity to talk to you about these credit cards. We'll see you in the next video, okay?